Hey guys, this is 681 Shadow. Welcome to another video on Genshin Impact. So today I want to go over the 6 available characters for the upcoming Stand By Me event and talk about, what the characters do and helping you all to make your decision on which characters you want to which character you want to choose for the event. So as we know from the 1.3 live stream and stuff like that, we know that the character choices are going to be Xinyan, Chongyun, Ningguang, Xingqiu, Beidou, and Xiangling. So I'm just gonna go from top to bottom here on the list and just in the character archive, and we're gonna go over what each of these characters does, my personal thoughts on them. I'm gonna try to make it a little more condensed than when I went over the Ganyu banner, because that video was a little longer than I would have wanted it to be, and there were half the amount of characters in there. So let's just get to this. So first off, Xinyan. Before wanting to make this video, I didn't really know much about her, because I don't have her. She's one of the 2 4-stars I don't have. And so I had to look into her kit, see what she does, and she's very, let's just say she's interesting. I feel like she wouldn't really pertain to my playstyle, and how I like to build characters and whatnot. But she definitely does have some unique aspects, so normal attacks are pretty self-explanatory, not really going to look at that. Her elemental skill deals pyro damage, and depending on how many opponents you hit, you get a shield. And the shield has 250% damage absorption against pyro, and infuses Xinyan with pyro. And the absorption is based on the level of the shield, so the higher the shield level, the more absorption, and it's based on her defense, which is definitely interesting. Yeah, I typically don't like defense scaling characters, but I mean, I guess she can use some of those artifacts that rolled pretty poorly for people, so that could be a good thing if you're looking to build her. And then for her elemental burst, Rift Revolution, she launches nearby opponents, dealing physical damage, and then the intensity of the atmosphere causes explosions that deal pyro damage. So you have an initial physical damage hit as well as a bunch of pyro damage hits as well, which is definitely interesting. Yeah, definitely a bit of a mix there. So you could run her with a bit of physical damage and pyro damage. I could see that being a thing. Once again, not really too knowledgeable about this character, but that is pretty solid. And then in terms of constellations, so let's say you already have her and you want to look at constellations now. So her C1, when she crits, she has 12% higher attack speed for 5 seconds, and you can't stack it because it only can occur once every 5 seconds, which is pretty good. C2's physical damage has its crit rate increased by 100% and will automatically give you a shield, which is super nice. So yeah, kind of this is similar to Zhongli's C2, how using your ult will give you a shield, which is pretty nice. C3 is some scaling for her elemental skill. C4 gives her elemental skills swing damage, a physical resistance reduction, which is pretty cool, so you're going to be doing a little more damage from that. C5 is some more scaling, and then C6 is less stamina consumption on charge attacks, and extra damage on charge attacks from her defense. So she's a very defense-oriented character. The more defense she'll have, the more damage she'll do, which is interesting to say the least. So if that's your forte, then you could pick up Xinyan. But let's move on to the next character now, which will be Chongyun. Now, Chongyun got kind of buffed recently with the 1.2 update with the cryo set, so I do think DPS Chongyun is a viable option now, especially if you don't have a better cryo character like Ganyu, for example. I think Chongyun could be a very good option. So talent-wise, elemental skill allows him to deal a AoE of cryo damage in front of him, which is pretty nice, and then after a little bit, the cold air created by the explosion will infuse all Sword, Claymore, and Polearm-wielding characters with cryo. So cryo damage all around, basically. So that's some good cryo damage synergy as well with that. And then for his elemental burst, he summons 3 basically giant swords, which do AoE cryo damage when they hit, and they also launch the opponent. So pretty good stuff from him. And then for constellations, let's say you have Chongyun like I do. I actually have a C2 Chongyun that I haven't built. I don't think I will build him for a while, at least. for a long while because I have Ganyu, and Ganyu is amazing. I love her. So yeah, so that's where I am with Chongyun. But Chongyun still has some good stuff though for people who don't have Ganyu or don't have any other like cryo units and don't want to use Kaya. So for C1, the last hit of Chongyun normal attack combo releases 3 ice blades. Each blade deals 50% of his attack as cryo damage to all opponents in front of him, which is pretty nice. So yeah, he gets some extra cryo damage, which is good. So building that cryo set can be really powerful for him. C2, elemental skills and bursts, cast within the frost field of let's see, hold on, which, let me just make sure which one okay, that's his elemental skill. Okay, so you just gotta make sure of that. So, and someone trying to join my game, that's crazy. But yeah, his elemental skill gives him the elemental skills and bursts inside of that field have less cooldown, which is going to be good for team synergy as well. So he definitely works as like a synergy type of character. Then then C3, some scaling on his elemental burst. C4, he regenerates 1 energy every time he hits an opponent affected by cryo, which will be really good. That works very, very well with the cryo set as well, because that's just another bonus for hitting a cryo-infused opponent. So, because the set gives 20% extra crit rate, and then now you're going to get extra energy, which is going to be nice. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good constellation. C5 is more scaling on his skill, and then C6. C6, his elemental burst deals 15% more damage to opponents with a lower percentage of their max HP remaining than Chongyun, and this skill will also summon 1 additional Spirit Blade. So it's really buffing up his ult there with that constellation. So yeah, I think his constellations are very good. He has he has some very solid options. I think he's going to be really good for team synergy. So I could definitely recommend Chongyun if you're looking for a cryo character other than Kaya, and someone who I think could really help out the team, because yeah, team synergy-wise, as a 4-star, Chongyun is looking pretty good. So next up now, we have Ningguang. Ningguang I have a lot more experience with than the first 2 that we just talked about, because I haven't used them. But I have been using Ningguang semi-recently, because I wanted to get another Geo character built for testing with Zhongli, which I will be making some content about Zhongli's buffs that are coming in 1.3, once those are actually live. So, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see that. But yeah, so for Ningguang, her entire kit is Geo, so it's definitely important to build that Geo damage on her. Her elemental skill creates a Jade screen which can block projectiles, and it scales based on her max HP, and is a Geo construct. So if you're pairing her with Zhongli, for example, with his resonance, you'll be able to get resonance from the Jade screen as well. And then her elemental burst is Star Shatter, which basically gathers Geo-infused gems that send homing projectiles to opponents. And if the Jade screen is up, then it'll get shattered, and that will deal additional gems. So that'll be much more damage from Ningguang's elemental burst, which is pretty nice. I think Ningguang also has a lot of really good constellations. Specifically, I think the first 4 I think are the most important ones. Like C6 is okay, like it's solid, but I feel like C1, C2, and C4 just help out a lot. So C1, when a normal attack hits, it deals AoE damage, so that's just gonna do some good damage in the long run. So instead of it just being like a single target, it becomes an AoE, which is nice and simple, but it's definitely a help. C2, when the Jade screen is shattered, its cooldown will reset, meaning that you can pop the Jade screen. She has a talent where if you walk through the Jade screen, you get a Geo damage bonus. So you can pop the Jade screen, walk through it, use your ult, and then pop the Jade screen again, which is really nice. C3 is more scaling on Star Shatter. C4, Jade screen increases nearby characters' elemental res by 10%. So that one's like alright, but yeah, it could be good for tanking some other things and whatnot. C5 increases the level of Jade screen by 3, and then C6, when Star Shatter is used, Ningguang gains 7 Star Jades, which the Star Jades allow her to do extra damage on her normal and charged attacks, which is on her charged attacks, which is very nice. So yeah, she definitely has some really good constellations. So like if you have all the characters and you want to build a nice Geo character, nice Geo like DPS type of character, I think Ningguang is a very solid option. I personally won't be picking her up because I already have her C4. And while it would be cool to get some extra scaling, there is another character that I haven't gotten to yet that I am very interested in to pick up. So, next up, we have Xingqiu, which I talked about him a bit in the Ganyu video, the Ganyu banner video, because he is on that banner. But Xingqiu is definitely really good. He's a really good support. He's going to be able to have some resistance, yeah, like extra damage resistances and stuff like that, and just really supporting the team in general. So his elemental skill, he performs twin strikes with his sword, dealing Hydra damage, and he creates rain swords, which reduce the amount of damage taken, increases resistance to interruption. And then 20% of Xingqiu's Hydra damage bonus is converted to the additional damage reduction for the rain swords, which is pretty cool. And the initial maximum rain swords is 3, which is cool, and also applies the wet status, so he could be good for as well as cryo characters. Like if you're running, you can run Xingqiu Chongyun, for example, Xingqiu Kaya. I don't think Xingqiu Ganyu will be as great because Ganyu is an archer, is a charge attack archer, so she won't be that close up. But I mean, hey, you never know, you can make it work. And then for the elemental burst, he uses an illusory sword rain while creating the maximum number of rain swords. So you're gonna have rain swords regardless of whether you use your elemental skill or elemental burst, which is good. And the active character's normal attacks will trigger consecutive sword rain attacks, dealing Hydra damage. So he is going to be boosting your damage as well. So if you're running, a character of a different element, you can use this elemental burst, switch to that character, and then you're going to be getting those reactions because Hydra damage will be dealt by Xingqiu's elemental burst, as well as whatever you're using on the active character. So he's going to be good as a support in that manner. Then for constellations, his constellations, they're all good, but he's very perfectly runnable at C0. I haven't built him yet, but I do want to I probably want to at some point. We'll see what ends up happening with it, but see, so C1 gives you an extra rain sword, which is going to be nice. That's more reduction. It's more damage reduction, all that fun stuff, which is pretty good. C2 extends the duration of Rain Cutter, which is his burst, by 3 seconds, and decreases the Hydra res of opponents hit by the sword rain attacks by 15% for 4 seconds. So not only is the burst going to do more damage, but also if you're running like a second Hydra character like Tartaglia, for example, you're going to be getting a lot more damage from him as well because the Hydra res decrease. So he could also pair up. Yeah, he could pair up pretty well with Tartaglia as well. C3 gets some scaling on his burst. C4, during the duration of the burst, the damage dealt by his skill is increased by 50%. So, you know, he can be as well. Not only can he be a support, he can also be a sub DPS. And if you have him C4, I feel like maybe like a full Hydro set. That could be something very. That could be something very interesting to test out there. And C5 is more scaling, and then C6 activating 2 of Rain Cutter's Sword Rain attacks greatly increases the damage of the third, and he regenerates 3 energy when Sword Rain attacks hit opponents. So, yeah, so that means he'll be able to get 9 energy off of his burst, regardless of what character is there. And if you give him some good energy recharge, he's going to be getting that burst back very quickly. Yeah, as a support, I definitely think Xingqiu is really good if you're looking for that like Hydro support type of character, just support in general. Like maybe you don't have Bennett, maybe you weren't able to get him off the Beidou banner, and you still want some kind of like support for your team. I think Xingqiu could be a very good option. Then next up, we have the character that I'm going to be choosing for I'm going to be choosing Beidou for this event. Because for me, it's more of like a collector's thing. I want to try to have all the characters, and between Beidou and Xinyan, I think Beidou is just more appealing to me as like a character. So that's what I'm gonna be going with here. So in terms of her talents, her elemental skill is her counter basically. So you can hold up her weapon. You hold her weapon, and the max damage absorbed scales off her max HP. And And basically, you just try to get hit while you're holding it, and then let go for a fierce counter, which is pretty nice. So yeah, that's her elemental skill. Pretty self-explanatory. And then her elemental burst, Stormbreaker. It calls upon a monster's strength and the lightning to create a Thunder Beast charge around herself, dealing electro damage to nearby opponents. So when normal charge attacks hit the opponent while this is active, there's a lightning discharge that can jump between opponents for electro damage, which is pretty cool. So extra electro damage, and then increases resistance to interruption and decreases damage taking. And also one of those lightning discharges can only happen per second. So this is going to be definitely good for team synergy, I feel like, because you're going to be able to pair her with other elements and create those elemental reactions. I think she's also very she can be run very well with a Hydro DPS such as Tartaglia, because you're going to be getting that electro charge as well, which is also more residual damage that's going to be happening over time. So yeah, having her is going to be very solid for that. But let's take a look at the constellations. So C1, when Stormbreaker is used, creates a shield that absorbs up to 16% of Beidou's max HP for 15 seconds and has 250% electro damage absorption. So C1's alright. It gives her a bit more of a shield, which is nice. It gives her shield during Stormbreaker, which is pretty cool. So you'll be able to defend a little bit better as you're dealing more damage with the electro discharge. Then C2, Stormbreaker's Arc Lightning can jump to 2 additional targets, so this is just going to be more damage overall, allowing Beidou to be even more of like a sub-DPS type of character, which I feel like is her role. Then C3 increases the level of the counter. C4, within 10 seconds of taking damage, Beidou's normal attacks gain 20% additional electro damage, which is pretty nice. So if you take damage, you'll be dealing some more damage for within those 10 seconds, which is pretty nice. So once again, like her being like a sub DPS, like a support / DPS type of character, I feel like that is going to be her primary role. C5 is more scaling on Stormbreaker, and then C6, during Stormbreaker, the electro res of surrounding opponents is decreased by 15%. So just more damage overall. And I also think, similar to Chongyun, I think she's going to be very good as a for team synergy and allowing your team to do a lot more things more effectively with elemental reactions, which I think are probably the most important thing to worry about in this game. So yeah, she's definitely going to be a lot of fun. I don't know when I'll build her, but I probably will build her at some point, because she seems very fun, especially with the counter and also the electro-based reactions. She could be a pretty good pretty good character to build. Then last and I'll be honest, probably least out of this character pool is Xiangling. So first off, you should know you can get Xiangling for free if you didn't know that. A lot of you probably did know that already, but you can get it for free by clearing all of floor 3 of Spiral Abyss, which shouldn't be too hard for mid-rank players. But let's see. Yeah, so you already have her, so I'm not really going to talk about these too much. Elemental skill, she drops a bear that shoots pyro damage about 4 times, and then elemental burst, she has basically pyro spinning around her for the duration, dealing pyro damage to all the opponents that are standing around her in a radius. So then for her constellations are far weaker than every other character that is going to be available in this event. So C1, opponents hit by the bear have their pyro res reduced for 6 seconds, that can be pretty good, especially if you're pairing her maybe with another pyro DPS character like Diluc, for example. Yeah, Diluc, or maybe even Xinyan. C2, the last attack in a normal attack sequence applies an implode status, which will create an explosion after the duration, and it deals 75% of Xiangling's attack as AoE pyro damage. You can get some good pyro damage off of that as well if you want to use her normal attack sequence. Personally, when I use Xiangling, I don't really attack with her because she's not really my DPS. I run her as more of a support type of build. Well, support type of a character, although I will be phasing her out. I'll be phasing her and Barbara out for Bennett. Hopefully soon-ish. Then C3 gives her burst some more scaling. C4, her burst has an extra duration, which is kind of nice to keep the pyro effect on the field. C5 gives her bear some more scaling, and then C6 for the duration of her burst, all party members receive a 15% pyro damage bonus, which can be good if you're pairing her with like the Luke, for example, like the Luke, Xinyan, whatever pyro DPS you may have, if she is not your main DPS. Which there's definitely better main DPS options than Xiangling, if I'm gonna be honest. So like, I feel like her at C0 is fine enough. Her constellations don't really give her much of a boost, but yeah, in terms of characters overall, as like a final sort of thing, I feel like the best sort of options just for all around like making your account stronger, especially if you don't have many of these characters, I would say Chongyun is really good, Xingqiu is really good, Beidou is really good, Xinyan can be solid, Ningguang is really good for like a DPSer, and then Xiangling is probably the weakest of the bunch. So yeah, that is those are my thoughts on all of the characters in the Stand By Me event. I am going to be picking up Beidou. Let me know who you guys are going to be picking up in the comments down below. But thank you all so much for watching. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff, and I will see you all next time.